So a few years ago, I watched the last movie and I was like, I think this is the worst movie I have ever watched. But then I watched this one and I'm like, I don't know which one is worst. I think both of them are very, very bad. They are on the same level. I feel like they are like a first draft, you know? But that being said, please don't watch this one. I'm telling you, it's not one of those movies that are so bad that they're funny. No, 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 this is just bad. So that is the reason why I'm making this video. So you don't have to watch the movie. And that means this video is gonna have a lot of spoilers. So if you don't want to listen to them, you can just skip it to the conclusion. But yeah, please don't watch it. Please watch this video. It's gonna be so much better, I promise. So the movie starts with a very generic musical number in which Sandy basically talks about science, doing science in Bikini Bottom, and then mentions Texas a little bit. But you know, not so much more than that. And then 4 minutes into the movie, I'm not exaggerating. 4 minutes into the movie because I checked it, okay? I'm sure it was 4 minutes. And they introduce us the external conflict, the situation, the problem, the issue, you know? And that is so wild to me because there's no character construction, there's no setup for the character either, there's not an internal conflict, you know. In the first movie, basically, we have the whole situation of SpongeBob dreaming about becoming the manager of the new Krusty Krab and all of that, but people is telling him that like he's only a kid, you know, so he wants to prove them wrong. That is very important to have in a movie, and they didn't do it, so that is wild to me because it's something so important, and yet they didn't do it. And then an excavator machine comes and takes Bikini Bottom. Sandy gets to see the name of the lab that she works at written on the machine, and that doesn't make any sense because why does a lab own an excavator machine? That is, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but okay, I guess okay. And she sees that, and after that, you know, the excavator machine takes Bikini Bottom, and I'm not lying to you. In 7 minutes into the movie, and Bikini Bottom was completely gone. So the only two characters that are left are SpongeBob and Sandy makes a screen come out of her suit, and that screen shows her everything she needs to know because, you know, it's very convenient for the movie. For whatever reason, this doesn't make any sense, right? So she works for the lab. So she is supposed to know where the lab is, right? That makes sense. When you work for a company, you know where the company is located. For whatever reason, she didn't know, I guess, because she needed a screen. On the screen, we get to see exactly the location of the lab. And also, we get to see the plot twist for whatever reason. Instead of showing us that later, they show it to us now, which is crazy. They showed us, the plot twist and also the villain. I mean, I do understand their train of thought of giving us a clue, but their clue is way too obvious. So now that the screen told her exactly where they need to go, she knows they need to go to Texas. But how are they gonna get to Texas? Oh, I know, a very convenient volcanic vent is gonna show up. Like, just like that. She's like, we need to get there, and a volcanic vent shows up. It appears. And, you know, it takes them to the sky. They fly with that thing. Also, then there's a plane that passes by exactly in that point exactly at that time. I mean, how did she know? I'll tell you because she's a scientist. But anyways, like they imply that she already knew, even though the whole situation is new for them. She knew because she's a scientist, and she makes a comment like, "Oh, the 10:30 plane that is going to Houston passed by just in time." So yeah, they are telling you basically that she already knew in advance about the plane passing by. I mean, and then, you know, they are hanging on like on the wing of the plane. They're just chilling in there, talking, and then Sandy decides to kick SpongeBob. But everything is fine, you know, because now she's a flying squirrel. Because also that is very convenient. So Sandy is flying, and they're getting to the lab, they're getting very close by, and then a twister comes up and takes them very far away from there because, you know, everything was already very convenient. Something had to happen, otherwise the movie would last 30 minutes. At least something happened. The twister takes them very far away from there, so they have to walk. And by the way, quick note, inside of the twister they make a joke about some campers in there, which probably could have been a very funny joke, but by the way they made it, it didn't work. It wasn't funny. I mean, I like the idea of the joke, but the joke didn't land. After that, we go back to Bikini Bottom and we see that the city is basically destroyed, and we see some characters inside of the Krusty Krab. No one wants to go outside to see what is going on, so Mr. Krabs decides to go out and basically discovers that they're inside of a dome, and he sees some humans in there, the people that work in the lab, and he gets scared, and he's basically like, oh, giants. So we get to see the lab and we get to meet the two assistants that work in that lab, and they're both very, very weird. They have a very weird chemistry with each other, and they made me feel very uncomfortable as a viewer. They go to a very convenient computer that has very convenient information, all the information that they needed. And for some reason, the computer is very sassy and talks like C-3PO. It's very weird. But they basically ask the computer, like, hey, are all the citizens of Bikini Bottom in there? Are we missing someone? And it tells them, like, oh yeah, we're missing Sandy and SpongeBob. And they go, like, oof, the boss is not gonna be happy about it. And then apparently the villain has a theme song, and then she goes inside and we get to meet her. And she's very weird. Her makeup is horrible. I have to say it. I'm sorry, but her makeup is horrible. But her dog is very cute. She has a very cute dog. I think it's the best part of the whole movie. I wish that was an exaggeration, but it's not. Also, the SpongeBob cast, the original cast, I love them so much. I have so much appreciation for them. They're basically my childhood. But anyways, back to the point. The villain has a very weird looking fish. I don't know if the fish is an experiment or something. Is it supposed to be like that? I don't know. It's very weird looking. And the fish kisses her, and then the fish kisses the dog. So the whole thing is very weird. I mean, at least I do understand why the fish kisses the dog, because I love kissing dogs. So the whole scene is very uncomfortable to watch. But it gets worse. I promise. Like, don't watch the movie, but watch this video. It gets worse than that. And then we go back to SpongeBob and Sandy that are walking, and suddenly some evil snakes are trying to eat them. And I have so much to say about this scene. This is the first movie that I have ever watched that doesn't have a moving background. It doesn't have video. So I don't know if it's a photo, if they made it with AI. I don't know if a graphic designer did it. It looks very fake. It doesn't look like video. And they basically have this non-moving background, and they decided to add the animation on top of that. And it looks horrible. It looks horrible, horrible. It looks bad. The lack of effort is insane, insane. Because it's not so hard to do. All you have to do is take a camera, put it in there, press record, film a few minutes. There you go. And not only that, because, Sandy is fighting the snakes and she can handle it. So she decides to call her family, and her family arrives on a truck. And you know what? The truck is also animated, and it looks so horrible. I think it's probably one of the worst visuals I have ever watched on a movie. Now, going back to the point, the family arrives and they fight and they win, and basically they all go together in the truck. And then we go back to the lab where the villain finds out that SpongeBob and Sandy are missing, and we get to watch a very, very convenient video about the whole plan, because that is very original and we have never seen it before. And I have to tell you that the plan is horrible, and I'm sorry, but it's very, very stupid. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's very, very stupid. So the first part of the plan is that they're gonna give them a paste that I don't know what it's for, because they never fully explain how it works, but also we never get to see the consequence. We see them eating this paste, but we never see the paste having an effect on them, so we're not completely sure how it works, or if it works even. And then the second part is basically using a machine to make them breathe air, so they can be outside of the water. And then the third part is to basically make them toys for children by cloning them, so she can sell them to the children and have many of them. And why? I mean, even if it's something that people have done before, you could have made like a classic zoo. Like, I want to create a zoo because these are attacking animals. And then we go back to the truck, and apparently the truck has some mechanical issues, but that doesn't matter at all because it's really more like a quick comment. It gets fixed very easily and out of the shot. We don't even get to see how it gets fixed, the problem of fixing it. No, 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 it's very easy. Again, it's a very quick comment. It's more like, oh, we have some issues. Okay, I'll fix it. That's it. And while that is happening and we don't watch it, we watch Sandy, and she's showing some of her circus skills because her whole family and her belong in a circus. Well, Sandy doesn't belong in there anymore, but it's a circus family basically. And her mom is kind of like, oh, my mom gave me the circus and now I'm gonna give it to you. So it seems like we're starting to get a little bit of a conflict in there. After that, she makes a comment about like, oh, we're gonna support you whatever you want as long as it's here in Texas. And it seems like finally we're getting some interesting internal conflict. But no, that doesn't matter because that is completely forgotten like a few minutes after that. It's just another quick comment that I don't understand the train of thought. Like, why? Why to mention it and try to make it a conflict and then don't develop it as a conflict? I don't get it. And then we go back to Bikini Bottom and the lab. And first, we watch Plankton saying a quick comment. I'll look at these cloning machines. Maybe I can steal them and make something evil with them, clone myself something. It seems like they're starting to set up like a plot twist, but they don't. It's a very meaningless comment that doesn't matter anymore. Literally nothing happens related to that afterwards. It's very weird. And I think the reason why they did it is only because Plankton is, an important character in the series, and they wanted to put him in the movie. And he's evil, so I guess just make him say something evil. But it's weird. Why do you do that? It's like you can't introduce us an idea and then don't give us nothing. And then we watch the characters, they're getting fed with this paste that I was talking to you about, and nothing happens. They are just eating it and they love it and it's delicious and that's it. But we don't get to see a consequence. We don't get to see what happens afterwards. So it doesn't really matter. And after that, they choose Patrick, Squidward, and Mr. Crab, and they put them in the breathing air machine. So now they breathe air, and Squidward sings a very short and awkward song. And after that, the villain is like, let's bring children to test them out. Like how you do with toys, not with pets. So the children come inside and they start playing with them, but they play with them as they were toys, not pets. And then we go back to the truck because, as you can see, there's not a lot of locations in the movie and also effort. But anyways, back to the point. SpongeBob is trying to learn to do the family whistle, and don't ask me why. For whatever reason, the police is after them. And guess what? The police cars are also animated and they look horrible, horrible. The police is after them for whatever reasons that I don't understand, and then the twister comes back. We're getting repetitive at this point, and the family decides to help Sandy and SpongeBob to get out of the truck so they can go help their friends, and they get inside of a cannon. And apparently, as I told you before, the mom made some comments about wanting Sandy to stay, but now that she's leaving, she's completely fine with it. There is no conflict in there. She took it very easy. She doesn't have any sadness. She's like, oh yeah, we'll see you again. After SpongeBob and Sandy are shot out of the cannon like cannonballs, Sandy starts to fly very conveniently, of course, and they get to the water park that is owned by the lab. And let me tell you that the whole water park is kind of pointless because the only thing that they use it for is for the chasing that is about to happen. But I mean, they could have done it inside of the lab, so again, it's kind of pointless. But anyways, the dog gets there and he sees them and starts chasing them. And again, I have to tell you that the dog is the best part of the movie. The movie is so bad that the best part is the dog. Anyways, the dog starts chasing them and he starts swimming in the pool. He's so cute, very adorable. I love him so much. And there's a point when they get to the top of a slide, and again, very conveniently, Sandy starts to fly. But since the dog can't fly, he uses a hang glider. A hang glider. I have to admit to you that I did laugh. That is the only funny thing in the whole movie. The only funny thing. So they fly and eventually they get inside of the sewer. And I have to tell you that for a moment I did worry for the dog. And I think that is the only emotion that I got to feel in the whole movie. I was more worried about the dog than the rest of the characters. So SpongeBob and Sandy get to the lab through the sewer and they get captured. They put Sandy inside of a cage and they put SpongeBob into the cloning machine without previously eating the paste because again, apparently the paste is completely pointless. But anyways, SpongeBob is put inside of the cloning machine, but it's very weird because it's also a roller coaster, right? So he gets inside of the machine through the roller coaster and he doesn't even try to escape. He's just like, oh, this is my destiny now. And then the villain gives the worst backstory I have ever heard. So apparently, when she was a child, which by the way, we watched the body of a kid and then her head, her grown adult head, and it looks so horrible. It looks terrifying. It looks so cringe. It's horrible. I hated it. It looks so bad and terrifying. I hated it. It's not funny. It's creepy. But anyways, we watched that. Apparently, she's obsessed with fish. She wants to be able to cuddle them, to be with them, hug them, all of that. But they can't breathe air, so she can do that. So her dream is to be able to cuddle them, and that's it. That is the reason behind everything. It's so absurd. And not only that, because it gets even worse. I don't know how it's possible, but it does get worse. Because apparently, she's been like she has spent a lot of years in doing research, being around fish, and apparently there was an incident with piranhas, and they ate her body, and now she has the body of a robot, and it looks terrifying. I don't know which one is worse, watching her head on the body of a girl or watching her head in the body of a robot. And then she makes a comment to Sandy about how, thanks to her, she was able to find out about Bikini Bottom and bring them here, and that makes Sandy feel guilt. And this is the very first time we get to see some emotion, because in the whole movie everything has been like, let's move to the next scene, let's move, okay, next scene, next scene, next scene. So it's the very first time that we see something like character development, character emotion, but it feels fake because it wasn't constructed. You know what I'm saying? Like, to get to this point, you have to build it along the movie, and they didn't do that, so it doesn't work as it's supposed to. But after that, for whatever reason, the dog decides to help, and he helps release SpongeBob. That now is a lot of mini SpongeBobs, and one of them decides to speak with Sandy, and he tells her not to give up. So she decides that she's not gonna give up, and everything happens very quickly. So again, there's not enough time for development, for emotions. The whole movie feels like it's supposed to be very quick, like, let's move to the next thing. It doesn't feel like organic at all. So after she decides that she wants to escape, she starts to run in the hamster wheel, and for whatever reasons the assistants also decide to help. And even though the three of them didn't plan anything, they already magically know what to do, and they help Sandy escape. And once that happens, Sandy knows exactly what to do to stop the robot, so she does, and she makes her dance, and it's all very awkward and uncomfortable. But she does that, she stops the robot, and after that, the head starts to fly and it falls into the fish mouth. And for whatever reason, now she's a fish, because that is how it works. And it doesn't make absolutely any sense, and it's just the most uncomfortable thing I have watched in a very long time. And after that fever dream, we have the issue of the mini SpongeBob, but they're all squished together and they go back to be the original SpongeBob. After that, we have the issue of moving Bikini Bottom back into the ocean. So Sandy decides to call her family back, but she can't whistle because she's missing a tooth. And SpongeBob does it, and it works. So her family is back, and they try to move the sphere, the dome, if you want to call it like that. They try to move it, but it doesn't work. So Sandy comes out with a plan, and they have everything in hand. They don't have to do so much effort to build something to fix the situation. Even Patrick has some cables inside of his pants, because again, all of this movie is about everything being very convenient. With all of these things, they manage to build a machine, and basically all they have to do is run to produce energy, and they do so, and they have so much energy that they even go around the moon, and eventually they manage to make Bikini Bottom land back to where it was. At the end, the family makes a circus show inside of the Krusty Krab, and Sandy sings a song about living in land and the sea. And the whole thing feels so meaningless because, again, there's no character development, no internal conflict. The characters are literally so flat that, I don't know, the whole movie feels so pointless, so meaningless, so empty. And a very quick comment, The assistants are also there, and it looks so horrible, so horrifying, and definitely it's not funny. It feels so cringe. And also, the dog is there, but I'll allow the dog because he's very cute. And as I have said before, he is the only good thing in the whole movie. As I told you in the beginning of this video, this feels like a first draft. It's so bad in so many ways. And for me, it's just absolutely insane the lack of effort in this movie. The movie feels so empty. No character construction, no character development, no internal conflict. The characters are so flat. Everything is like, let's move to the next thing, like move from this to this to this to this to this to this. Emotionless. And it's again so empty. It's very empty. It feels heartless. It especially hurts because SpongeBob means a lot to me, and it sucks. The fact that Steven Hillenburg passed away, and they are doing this with something so valuable that he made. This is not against the cast. They are very special for me too. They are basically my childhood. They are the soul and heart of these characters. So I don't blame them. I'm actually glad that they're here in this project because I can't imagine this character with different voices. And I know some people might say like, oh, but this is a children movie, so who cares? But that is not an excuse. There's so many children movies out there, family movies out there that are so worth to watch, so entertaining. I have watched plenty of them. That is not an excuse. And also, as I told you before, SpongeBob is so meaningful for a reason. We're talking about a show, a cartoon that changed a lot in the television industry, in the cartoon industry. There's so much potential in there. And it's really more about understanding these characters and what the cartoon actually is. But anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching it. Don't forget to leave your comments, and if you liked it, like and subscribe so you can stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.